Hey there, my wedding planning friends, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for clicking on my video. I'm Emily Summer. I'm a wedding planner based in Montana, and I make weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. So today's video, we're talking all about wedding photography and specifically the wedding photos that you must have at your wedding. So when it comes to your wedding photography and speaking with your wedding photographer, likely they're going to have their own shot list and make sure that they're getting all of the important photos throughout your wedding day and night. However, a lot will also ask you what's important to you and have a shot list from you as far as your priorities and what you want coverage of. And if you're somebody that hasn't really put too much thought into this, or you don't really know what the important shots are other than obviously you and your partner and maybe some family photos and prominent moments throughout the day, here are 25 of, in my opinion, the must-have photos you should have at your wedding day that you can just send along to your photographer. Number one is an invitation suite or some kind of stationary suite photos. This doesn't mean that you have to go all out for your wedding invitations and have three-piece invitations. Maybe you're doing digital invitations. Even if you are, just having one beautiful piece of, but even if it's just one sheet, doesn't have to be multiple sheets or an entire invitation suite. Having some kind of nice paper goods that you can use in a detail shot is always so nice. It helps to tell the story of your wedding day. It helps to tie in kind of theme, color, overall design themes into your wedding day and kind of tie all your photos together. If it's something that you are planning on, if you're going to put your wedding photos in like an album or something where you're going to kind of tell the story of your wedding day, having some kind of stationary detail shot is so nice to add into that. And it's something that you might not put a whole lot of thought into in the moment and not think that it's that important, but the final products are just so nice. And like I said, it doesn't mean that you have to go all out for your wedding invitations. You could even just have one set just for this photo purpose alone. Number two, some form of a getting ready photo. Now, I'm gonna burst your bubble here and tell you that the majority of the getting ready pictures are not actually getting ready pictures. Most of the time they are somewhat staged depending on the point of time that your photographer is going to arrive versus the time that you are getting ready. So don't stress too much about the timeline matching up perfectly with the photographer. Obviously, you still want your hair and makeup artists around if you are having them kind of finishing up, but it's okay if you're basically done getting ready when your photographer arrives, and you can kind of fake these getting ready photos a little bit, but it's nice to have some kind of documentation of the getting ready process. I think it's really nice to have the photos of you even just doing like a finishing touch of putting your jewelry on or an earring in. It's just, again, it helps to tell that story so much when looking through your wedding photos, and I think it's just such a pretty, intimate, detail shot. Also, it's nice to look back on because it's kind of the lead up anticipation before your wedding. You can remember how you were feeling in that moment when you're like putting your earring in an hour before you're about to walk down the aisle and get married. And I think there's just something so special about those moments before the actual wedding themselves. Similarly, number three is bridal details. So kind of similar to the invitation detail photo, having your details all put together in a story. Again, I was gonna say it helps tell the story, but in a photo. So like your shoes, your veil if you have one, your earrings, maybe a perfume bottle, your ring, anything that's going to be like your accessories and your details all in one photo is another really great shot to have. This also goes for groom details as well if he does have some, so like tie, cufflinks, cologne bottle, shoes, anything that's going to be deemed an accessory for the groom as well. Number four is getting into your dress. Most of the time, this is a really great mother-daughter moment, or maybe mother figure or an older sister or somebody helping you to get into your dress and maybe like doing up those buttons and just getting, again, really nice, intimate documentation of this moment getting into your wedding dress, because that's a big deal. Number five, make sure that you are giving yourself time for bridal portraits. I think sometimes this gets overlooked because you are getting ready and then you're gonna go do your first look, or you're going to do your bride and bridesmaids photos right away, but make sure that you are taking some time to just get photos of just you alone. You spend a lot of time and money on your overall bridal look, your dress, your makeup, your hair, your details, and you want to make sure that you are getting just that documented, because this is really the only opportunity to do so. And if you want like a really nice dress photo, highlight your bridal bouquet, your earrings, whatever it is. Make sure that you're just giving yourself some time so that you can have some solo time with your photographer, even if it's just a couple of photos, so that you have your own bridal portraits as well. Similarly, this goes for your groom or your partner as well. Make sure that they do the same thing, just so that you have at least 1 or 2 photos of the two of you by yourself on your wedding day. Number 7 is a first look if you choose to do one. Now this can be optional if you're opting out. Those that have followed along for a while know that I am a big proponent for first looks. If you want to learn more about that, I will link my first look video above. But there's not a lot that rivals the photos that you will get from your first look, and those raw emotions that you'll have seeing each other for the first time and being able to do that on your own and alone without other people watching and looking, other than your photographer obviously, but they're kind of there in the background just to document this. So having those photos are so special. Number 8, candid interactions with guests. It's so great to have just candid photos in general on your wedding day, whether that's of the two of you or the two of you with your people, your bridal party, your family, your parents, whoever it might be, but also with your guests as well. The day goes by so fast, and you sometimes don't even have the opportunity to speak to everybody at your wedding or be able to see everybody that was at your wedding and know that they were there. And so having candid photos, having your photographer take candids, usually like cocktail hour, early reception is a good time for this, of not only you interacting with your guests, but them interacting with each other is so nice to be able to kind of look back and see who was in attendance at your wedding and seeing them having a good time and enjoying their time and mingling, and you mingling with them. Number 9, obviously bride and groom or partner photos, whether this is just before or just after you have already gone through your wedding ceremony, having photos of just the two of you. Even if you are not big photo people, even if you don't want to spend a whole lot of time taking pictures, having your portraits taken, just trust me that you are going to want these photos at some point. And so set aside time to go with your photographer. Usually right after the ceremony is a great time you can kind of decompress, soak it all in. Or if you want to just get to your cocktail hour and knock out your family portraits right away, set aside time later in the evening to do a little walkabout sunset golden hour session with your photographer, so that you have some time for just couple photos of the two of you. Number 10, bridal party pictures. You want to make sure that you are getting a photo of your full entire bridal party all together with the two of you in it. It's also nice to get a photo of just you and your personal bridal party group, and same with your partner and their personal bridal party group, but make sure that you're getting a full bridal party photo at some point as well. Number 11 is your ceremony site without anybody there. And number 12 is your reception site without anybody there. So having documentation of your full setup ceremony space, flowers are installed, chairs are placed, same with the reception space, everything is set up, candles are lit, whatever it might be. Having documentation of that space before anyone is there, because likely you will never see it that way. There's a chance you might be able to see your reception space beforehand, but likely you will not be able to see either of these spaces completely done and finished, ready for guests to arrive before anyone is actually there. So it's really cool to be able to look back and see those spaces and those moments before anyone has ever even touched it yet. Number 13 is the exchange of your rings. Obviously, pretty much everything that happens in your ceremony, you're going to want documentation of. But the big ones are obviously your ring exchange, raw emotions during the ceremony. So having some photo of either you two laughing or crying, wiping a tear, some kind of emotional, candid shot. And then of course, your first kiss as a married couple. Speaking of this one, make sure that you have a conversation with your officiant, that when it comes time for the first kiss, after they announce for it, to move out of the way, so that that photo that you have of your first kiss doesn't have a little bobbin head in the background in between the two of you. And number 16 is a good photo of your recessional back down the aisle. So you can get fun and creative with this, do a little dip, do a little kiss in the middle of the aisle. Some of my clients have done like dried flowers or flower petals tossed into the middle, and they make really fun photos, or even just your standard walking down the aisle, you just got married picture. These are always so fun. The emotion is so raw and excited. There's a big energy to it. Usually people are clapping, you're happy, you're smiling, maybe you're throwing your bouquet in the air. They always make for a great photo. Number 17 is design details. So if there's anything that you spent a lot of time on design related, make sure that your photographer is getting good detail photos and documentation of this. Again, you likely spent a lot of time on these details and you want to make sure that they are getting the documentation so that if you, for one, you aren't personally able to see how these things turned out, you've got the documentation of it. And again, just kind of helps tell your wedding day story. Number 18 is your place settings. Again, if this is something that you have spent time on and is a big part of your design element, so you have full place settings, you're gonna have plates, flatware, cups, nice napkins, everything set out on the table. Again, get documentation of this because again, you are spending a lot of time and money on creating this and it's really nice to have those detail photos to look back on. If you aren't planning on doing a lot when it comes to your table settings and design setup, you're not planning on having tables set out or plates set out on the tables, then you can probably skip this one. Number 19, documentation of your florals. So you'll get good photos of your ceremony florals when you get that ceremony site photo, but maybe you want close-ups of your arch piece if it's a really beautiful and intricate design. Just make sure you're getting florals of your ceremony or photos of your ceremony florals, your bouquet, your reception florals, centerpieces, and just good documentation of your overall wedding florals. Number 20 is your cake and or dessert table. Again, it's usually set up very beautifully. You want good photos of that cake before it gets cut into and just disappears and as the evening gets going. Number 21, obviously your first dance. You of course want documentation of your first dance, as well as those father-daughter and mother-son dances. And then I meant to mention this one earlier when we were talking about first look, but I also love when you do a first look or kind of an initial reaction documentation with your family, with your parents. So if you're having your mom get into your wedding dress, usually this will happen then, but doing first look with fathers is something that I find so touching and I love the photos that come from this. Number 24 is documentation of toasts, specifically reactions to toasts. So whether your maid of honor is saying something really funny and your guests are all laughing, or you're crying at something your dad is saying, having those moments captured of the kind of the reactions and the emotions that are coming from the toast. And finally, number 25, dancing candids. We love some good, fun dancing candids. And again, it's a great way to kind of finish telling your story of your wedding. The ending, you're going to be dancing the night away, whether that's a band or a DJ. It's always so funny to look back and see all of the kind of dancing candids from your wedding. So if you're stumped on what your priorities are when it comes to your photo list, maybe photos aren't even your biggest priority and so you don't really know how to relay what is important to you to your photographer, here is a list of 25 must-have shots for your wedding. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to get weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice, and we'll see you next week.